You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Rolling. Get your doggies rolling.
What's that from?
That's a great question.
I think I only know it from like spoofs. Like in other movies when they've used that as a reference and they sing it to be silly.
We just know
I
it
think
from
that's what I know it from. I know it
culture.
from. Yeah, exactly. I know it from that.
Well, this is episode 323.
I like that number.
I know you like that number. That's why I mentioned it.
323. It's you and me. Here we go.
We promoted the podcast. Or no. We're doing We're doing the podcast now.
We are in the podcast.
We have a new website.
Welcome to this show.
Talk about it on the beginning of this episode. And we've talked about it on the beginning of some other episodes as well. We're in the process of rolling out this new website, and Craig has been hard at work.
Craig's magnificent.
And my brain is just broken.
It's a little taxed.
It's not a little tax. It's broke.
But you have been like the amount of work that you're doing and what you're putting into this and what you're creating.
I had to learn how to code stuff. I'm not a coder.
You're not. I offered.
Obvious.
I'm like, do you want me to take like a Udemy class or something? Do you want me? And like, I don't know why you said no. I'm such a fun person. But you did it. You're a self-taught coder now. That's
a little bit. I'm a little coder.
A lot of it.
I code a little.
Were you able to solve a problem with your coding that was driving you absolutely batshit crazy?
Yes.
And you figured out how to code it?
Yes.
You're a coder.
I'm a coder.
You're a coder.
I've written the code for this episode.
Craig the coder.
Craig decoder.
Craig decoder. Coder decoder. Say it fast. Say it fast.
So if you're listening and you go to our website, hopefully it's finished and you can go check it all out. And if not, it will be soon. It will be soon. I think we're going to release it this week.
Are we?
Because I feel like the things that aren't quite ready for it will either get them ready or it'll be coming soon.
The things that aren't quite ready. Oh, like, man, okay.
So,
all right, moving on.
Moving on. Yeah, you had something right at the beginning you wanted to get into, right?
Oh, yeah. I just meant moving on because I don't want to look at that. Hold on one second. I have to write two things down. Hold on. What was the other one that I had? Oh, come back.
What did you have to write down, Steph? What are you doing?
I'm hurry up and like getting my notes so I don't forget what to talk about because I will wow. Can you read that? Can you tell what I wrote there?
Amy.
That's not it.
Are we going to talk about Amy on this episode?
Amy. No, we're not. I just realized like how crazy that is. That there's reasons like when I write fast in my notes and I go back to review them later, I'm like, what? It's like I'm speaking to me. I know it. So I have been, I've just been super emotional, right? We talked about that a little bit. You hadn't noticed. Yeah. Thank you for that. It has been my cycle, my moon. It coincided with this massive super full moon.
And Sag, right? Was it a Sagittarius?
No, it was Capricorn.
Capricorn?
It was Capricorn.
Listen to me talk like I know what I'm talking about.
You know what you're talking about. You do. You were like.
Go ahead.
You were in the same like quadrant.
I was close.
Yeah, you were in the quadrant.
It was very kind of you to humor me. Anyways.
No, you did so good.
So yeah, very emotional during this time.
It was just like period. I was just super like this one hit me. Like I was emotional and down and out before. So everything that was coming up was like making me feel everything.
Yeah.
I was just like I was going through Facebook. I was crying from Facebook ads, not even like ads, just like these little videos, like a post, anything.
The cat videos.
I am just like sobbing. Like it is taking like all of my, I've been working on a lot of release. So it's just all of these things have coincided. So on top of being this like emotional release, feeling things, it's like I have this openness, a sensitivity, and things have been coming into my space to help me with awareness too, because my emotions, my heart is like wide open. So I'm seeing things and things are being brought that maybe I hadn't noticed before. And I'm even like, I'm dealing with shame because something that just like hit so hard is beyond obvious. And I feel like how cruel it is that I didn't notice, you know? And I wonder like how much things get like brought under the surface. Because when you think about it, and if you were to ask me directly, I would say, oh no, I am aware of this, because I would think so. But until like this emotional with my heart open, this thing that I saw, that I'm gonna tell you this video, until it like hit me, I didn't feel it. Like maybe I noticed, but I didn't feel it. And this is like a feeling so deep that has just changed my perspective. So we're always like changing our perspectives and
evolving,
and
right?
Evolving, and like different way of seeing things, different ways of feeling things. And I'll probably start crying because I can feel it coming up. But it just like it touched me so deeply.
Did you feel it in your fingers?
I did. So, and I am kind of, like I said, anyways, we're just moving on. I've given enough. So you see all these videos of like, I don't believe in war. I don't want war.
Okay.
I don't feel like war is necessary. I hate war.
You don't believe that war is necessary.
I don't, but then there's like all of these things, right? I don't need to get into that right now. Just wherever you stand on, just hang in there with me just for a minute, because this is like a realization that broke me open in so many different ways. So wherever you live, I can only speak for the States, but I imagine that you see like videos or however supporting your military, your soldiers for whatever country that you're in. You're not seeing support for other countries, for other soldiers, unless they're, like obviously we have support for the Ukraine right now, but like mostly it's showing how you should be afraid of them, almost like, and how
afraid of your own army?
No, afraid of like other countries, and like how their army are strong, or what if they have this, and it's like they're seen as either allies or opposition.
Yes.
But their hearts, their souls aren't really shown. It's just allies or opposition. Are they friends or are they enemies? And that's like how the social media feeds it. And then what we see is, soldiers coming home, or soldiers, coming home in a box, or, all of these like sets. So our hearts and our emotions go towards our soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And, but we are all connected. We are all here. We are all trying. I saw this video and I didn't realize that it wasn't ours, like the United States soldiers, for a little bit. It showed like a bunch of young men all lined up, which is like heartbreaking anyways, because they're all these babies, right? They're all lined up. And I don't know if they were returning or I don't know what it was, but I saw them. And then it showed this woman. I'm going to get emotional because I'm still emotional, and it's an emotional thing. And it's like emotions that we should all feel. Like we're all people, right?
Yeah. But
it showed this mom, and she's like breaking the rules, right? Beelining it for her kid. And he's standing there like tall and looking ahead and not breaking. And she comes up and she's just like touching his face. And I realized in that moment that the flag in the background is not an American flag. And it's showing the vulnerability, and it's another country, and it's this mom, and she's like touching her baby. She's touching her son, and she's so happy that he's there and that he's home. And he's holding like strong, no emotion. And then he starts like cracking just a little bit. And you see his eyes well up with tears, and you see like him start to like his face get red. And then it goes to where he can move, and he just like wraps his arms around his mom. And I'm like, oh my God, like, why do we not see this? They're not enemies. They're not like, those are like people. We're not like, everybody that meets out there is somebody's child. Like that's like, there's a mom on both sides. There's a dad. There's like, that are just whatever you talk to, whether it's like you're praying, your energy, like whatever, I don't care. Like, this is not like whatever you talk to, whatever you're hoping, wherever you're sending love for your child to come back. Everybody is doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody is doing that. So when you have like all this love and hoping your baby comes, like they're having all this love. Why are we sending our babies out there? Like, why are we not coming up with other ways? Why are we sending our babies out there to fight and kill and hope that your baby is the one that makes it, which means you're hoping that somebody else's baby doesn't.
Yeah.
This is your child. This is your life. We're sending our children out there to fight to the death. Like, this is like, like, how do y'all feel about the movie Hunger Games, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're taking your kids and it's like, it's not the parents are like, you get out there. It's like our governments all over are saying, hey, you need, like, we're picking your children, and they're going, and some of them are volunteering and some of them aren't. And some of, like, why do our children have to fight to the death to settle disputes that our supposed leaders cannot manage from having a conversation? So they can't figure out how to sit in the same room and how to disagree and how to have a conversation. So we're going to go back and pluck children to go fight these. Like, what the fuck? So I'm just, my heart is like, I'm feeling all these things.
It just really landed for you, huh?
It's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare that's been going on for, as long as
Okay.
as long as we can remember.
It doesn't have to still go on.
It doesn't.
Like, we have better ways to do things now. We have different choices that we can make.
Yeah.
It's like everything is evolving. Why can't the way that we handle ourselves in a conflict, why can't the way that we interact with people evolve? Why is that stuck in the same? Everything's evolving. Medicine, technology, like our flying people to like wherever, like everything is evolving except for how humans treat each other and how they connect and interact and disagree. Like,
well, that's still evolving. I mean, that's evolving as well. There's just a dynamic that is slow.
It's still the...
Because if you think about it, like outside of the scope of war, that's exactly what's happening. People are connecting, communicating. Do you mean all of those things are happening?
Yes, I guess what I mean by that. Thank you. I'm going to sit here and drink and try to not drink alcohol. I'm going to get drunk now because these emotions are too much. Like the government, the people in charge.
Yeah.
The leaders of the countries.
You said on...
oh my goodness.
One of the things that came up on...
I'm going to need a hug.
One of the things that came up on... it's not last week's episode, but it was the episode previous on 322. You mentioned at one point, and the only reason I know this is because I was editing it today. Okay. Like somebody's got to lay down their sword first.
Right.
Like it takes somebody to set down their weapon and say, yeah, we don't really need to do it this way anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't need to do it this way anymore. And not until that happens, but like, how cool would it be if the United States decided to be that person?
Right.
That person, that country that was, and there's other countries that have done that. Like there's countries that don't go to war.
Yeah.
I don't know, babe. It sucks. It's one of those things that, what are we supposed to do about it? That's the adage. And if we don't have a good defense and if we don't have a military, then we're going to get taken over, and all of these justifications and all of these reasons why they tell us that this is necessary and this is important. And it's so hard because I can feel both sides of it. What I mean by that is we lock our doors at night, right? We lock our doors because we don't want somebody coming into our house in the middle of the night when we're vulnerable and when we're asleep. And if somebody came into our house in the middle of the night, would I kill them? No. Right? I wouldn't kill them. My first initial reaction would be to figure out what they're doing in our house. And then right after that would be probably to get them out of our house. I don't know what the solution is, because is there a time to defend yourself? Absolutely. There's a time to defend yourself. But are we willing to take the risk of not defending ourselves in an effort to see what happens? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't fight back, is the person that's threatening you going to stop fighting? The thought is, no, they're not. If you don't fight back, then you're going to die. So it's like, how do we change that dynamic? Because that's the small little microcosm of the bigger thing of, you know, if suddenly the U.S. military just ceased to exist and we took all of that money and, I don't know, invested it in like humanitarian efforts, that might be something that might be beneficial, right? Instead of this ginormous war machine that just propagates death and destruction in order to fuel more money for the people involved in it. What if all of that money that we invested into the U.S. military industrial complex just went to humanitarian efforts? Right. We could probably immediately end world hunger. We could probably immediately end like poverty, at least in this country, right? And it's so asinine to think that all of those things are still at place. But then we still see the need for a defense. But could we all agree that we can get rid of our defenses because now we're no longer going to attack each other? Like, can you wrap your mind around that? Like, how does that feel?
I think that's possible.
If you make it small, though.
If we make it small?
Like, what if we stopped locking our doors at night? And what if somebody that comes into our house, we help that person instead of hurt that person?
Well, I think that goes right with what you said from the beginning of first you would assess, right? And I'm not saying, like, if you think about it, if somebody comes rushing in your house, what is the first thing? Are they rushing in to attack, or are they rushing in for help? Are you a safe harbor?
Maybe.
And like, I can feel the negativity that's going to come with this, right?
You can feel the narrative,
right? All of the things, but like,
by the
what
people
if,
that are listening.
Like, what are you taught when you're a kid? You know, if somebody's coming after you, if somebody's like, go to the house, go to the front door, they teach you to go to seek shelter for help. Mm-hmm. And then as an adult, they teach you that anybody that is seeking shelter is a threat.
This makes me think, like, because at what point does humanity evolve to the level where we aren't hurting each other anymore? Like, when can we get to that point? When can we get to the point where we don't hurt each other anymore? Where we don't, because I'm trying to think about it from the perspective of like, we're really just animals, right? And you can't ask a lion to not hurt a gazelle. Yeah. Lion's got to eat, right? Lion's going to definitely kill the gazelle. You can't reason with the lion and be like, listen, the gazelle has a child just like you have a child. The gazelle has a family just like you have a family, right? The lion's going to be like, I understand that, and I'm going to eat all of their family, right? The lion's hoping to catch the baby gazelle because it's easier to eat and kill that baby gazelle. Is the lion
like, okay.
I'll just stay with my silly random nonsense that I'm spewing right now, right? So at the core of who we are, there's a part of us that is still animal in nature. We're still just monkeys. Like we're not even a full step away from the chimpanzee. Like we're half a breath away from our ancestors where we were just straight up animals. So how much time has to pass and how much evolution has to take place before we recognize that we don't have to kill each other in order to survive? Because that's why humans kill each other. We kill each other because we're threatened, because our safety is threatened, because our survival is threatened, right? Like at what point?
That's one narrative. That's the narrative that is spun, but I think most of it is about resources, and just because that like whoever has the most on top, it's that great thing, and then it's
that's
that
about
false
survival
religion of like, oh, this is like in the name of God.
That's about survival though.
Well, that's an aspect.
Do you know what I mean? That's all. It's all survival based.
I feel like that's excuse based, but
it's not. It's not.
I feel like people use that as an excuse to do horrible things and to take and have as much for themselves as possible.
Yes.
In the name of survival, in the name of God. And I feel like it is just a horrific excuse used to cause as much pain as possible.
I agree. I completely agree with you. I'm just having a little bit of a internal dialogue / argument with you externally.
I know. And I'm still like emotional. I'm still literally bleeding here. I've got emotion is coming out, and I'm like, I'm ready to start crying again. I'm like, I'm talking about like, don't make me wrong for loving.
That's the whole thing, is I'm not making you wrong.
I
wish
know
that we
you're
could
not. I'm just being sensitive. God damn it.
I wish we could
want to go watch some more animal videos with cute puppies and kitties and
I wish we could make
babies.
Everybody feel that way.
Right.
Like it never made sense to me, and maybe it did at one point in my life, but it's like, it's that whole thing of like, if we're going to go to war with somebody, that means that a whole bunch of people are going to die that are innocent. Right. And innocent people die in war. How about like every life is an innocent life.
Every life is an innocent life.
Every life is a child. Every life is somebody's son, father, mother, daughter, right?
That's what I'm saying. And that's not a narrative that is spoken. That's not the feeling. That's not the propaganda. That's not the way that they're directing you. It is literally like, that's not the narrative.
Yeah.
That's not what they're trying to get you to see. It is our family only, and everybody else is expendable.
Yes. There's the threat out there, right?
Yeah.
That we have to protect against. But that's what I'm going back to with this lion, this beautiful lion metaphor.
Lion gazelle. Okay.
Right. You can't reason with the lion and say, don't kill the gazelle. Because what's the lion doing? It's surviving. It's eating, right? That's how it lives, and that's how it survives, right? And it's
so everybody's got to be the lion.
Hold on a minute.
Is that where you're going?
All I'm going with is there's a part of us that is still wired that way.
Yeah.
Now, the argument is you'll never change that. Like we can't change our instinctual wiring. We can't change the fact that we are just wired that way, where we are designed to protect the things that we hold closest to us.
Have you ever seen those unlikely friend videos where they have like a predator and that are coexisting and loving each other and are BFFs? Like that shit happens.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
It does happen.
It's possible.
This isn't an argument for this. These things aren't possible, or we're just.
Oh, you're right. It's not just
instinctual.
possible. It is happening all over.
What I'm saying, like if I'm allowed to finish this thought process.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we?
What do you want to
be
talk
friends?
about, baby? I'm trying to elaborate on your topic and the thing that you've brought up, and you're like, shut up and let's sing songs.
So funny. Like, okay, lion gazelle.
How do we evolve?
Inner work.
How do we get to the point where we don't feel like we have to kill the person that's trying to take something from us?
I don't feel like I have to kill the person that's trying to take something from us.
Do you feel like you have to take something from somebody to survive? What aspect of your survival is based on taking something from somebody else?
Like taking, or I would have to get really, because my first instinct is like, I don't take anything from somebody else.
Yeah.
But that's probably false. I mean, I'm sure I need to like look and see, like get a little deeper, like do I come from people that have taken? Am I here and with all this privilege because I from a long line that has taken?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. As 100%. How am I continuing that behavior? On the surface, I don't see it.
Okay.
But I also know better than to believe that, oh, I'm not doing that.
I think rather than...
I guess it would be like taking a life to eat. Only, I'm like, not humans, but animals. So it's
now,
the same,
what
but
if
I don't feel
what if
like
the life of your child is threatened? Then what are you going to do?
I am going to do absolutely everything in my power to protect my child,
Even if it means killing somebody else?
even if it means killing somebody else.
So how do we change that? Because that's what it
That's
boils
not
down
my
to.
go-to.
I know, but that's
I'm
what I'm
not going
saying.
to be like, oh, my child's in danger, murder.
Let's just think about this for a minute.
Like that would be my last case, but it would be a case I would go to.
So let's just think about this for a minute.
Okay.
How do we change that? Because that's it. I mean,
I just said that.
if we boil everything down to what's happening, if we look at all the wars that are taking place, and yes, it's all driven based off of resources and money and all these different things that they, the reality of it, there is an undercurrent of where they're protecting the people that they love.
Yes, but that doesn't have to be your go-to.
So what I'm saying
So that's
is,
what I think the answer is.
But it doesn't have to be your go-to.
Okay.
Okay. So it's not the first line of defense. It's not that it's not the first thing that we jumped to.
Okay.
But can we eliminate can you get rid of that feeling of, I will not take another life in order to protect my child's life?
Can I get rid of that?
Yeah.
Not right now.
So that's what I want to explore.
Okay.
The possibility of what would that look like?
But that also, like, that's not just a cut and dry thing, because there's like, oh, I feel a threat, I will eliminate that threat. And I'm saying, if I feel a threat, protection doesn't immediately mean eliminating the threat. There are, like, that's what I think the difference is exploring those other things. Like when you were a police officer.
Yes.
You had many situations where there would have been a justifiable shooting.
Yes.
Did you fire your weapon once?
No.
No. Why not?
Because I chose a different route.
You chose a different route.
Yes. That's
what I'm talking about. There are different possibilities. It isn't like kill or be killed. Can it come down to that? Yeah.
But what about that moment where it does come down to that?
Well, when it comes down to that, I'm choosing my child.
But in doing so,
you're eliminating this whole thing. It's like, what I'm talking about is the go-to is kill or be killed. And it is not.
What are we talking about?
There's like, I don't know. I think you're just trying to devil's advocate me the whole time.
Devil's advocate isn't what I'm trying to do. I'm having a conversation. So like, how do we have a conversation about something? Because we have the same point of view. But if we sit here and talk about the same point of view, is it entertaining for people to listen to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you not entertained? Like, that's not my goal. I'm not entertaining.
I understand. But like right now, what do you and I want to talk about? What do you want to talk about?
I feel like I'm giving examples, right? I feel like I'm sitting here saying like, yes, we have all of these other options. And you're like, you bring it to I don't feel like any of this middle ground is being entertained.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's like it either is or it isn't. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, when it comes to that point, this is what I'm doing.
So
I'm doing the thing that is going to break my heart, but I will protect my child. But I'm talking about all of this middle ground that nobody's looking at. I completely
agree with you when it comes to that middle ground.
So why don't we not talk about that and open up instead of going to the end?
I asked you what you were doing and what you were trying to have a conversation about.
Opening up this, like, the possibilities of other options.
And what I'm asking right now, or what I'm trying to do, is I feel like there is a large portion of the country and the world and the population as a whole that isn't, not only are they not willing to look at the middle ground that you're referencing right now, but they don't even see it. Where instead what they see is the end point of what I'm talking about.
That kind of sounded like what you were doing.
So that's just what I was trying to highlight. So what I'm trying to get to eventually in my explanation of my thoughts and feelings in this moment is, how do we shift that end point?
How do we shift that?
I'm not looking at the middle ground stuff. I'm looking at the very end point where how do we see the individual that we're going to kill in order to protect our child? How do we see that as not only another part of us or somebody else's child? Like if you can't see it as a part of yourself from like the higher enlightened spiritual aspect of we're all the same thing, can you at least see it as somebody else's child? And are you willing to kill somebody else's child so that your child survives?
I see what you're doing. I don't agree with your method. I don't agree with just skipping all past the middle stuff and skipping to the end point. I think that is the problem.
Okay.
Is exactly what you're doing.
Okay.
So I don't see it that way. I'm like, let's
explore the middle spot.
Let's
then.
explore the middle spot, because it doesn't have to come to that.
I agree.
And that's how I think we solve that, is it not getting to that point.
I agree. So let's explore it. What are some ideas?
I think just having that possibility of looking at what else could be taking place here? What else could be taking place? How is this not a threat? How can this be an opportunity to help? How can this be an opportunity when I feel like I need to take to survive? How do I need help? How can I get support? And there's like so many different ways of like, there is no support. You're on your own. But what if you're not? Like, what if there are still opportunities to ask? What if everybody starts just getting curious about how they can help when something comes into their space and how they need help when they are lashing out? That's getting curious with that. And like, what is the actual need here? What is the reality here? What is actually taking place?
I suck at asking for help.
Yes.
You just flat out suck at it.
You do.
It's not a strong suit of mine. I try often to ask for help.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I don't try often. I think I try often, but the reality is I don't even try very often to ask for help, right? My MO is to just figure it out on my own.
Yeah. Figure it out on what does it feel like? Yeah, it's hard for you to ask for help, and it's harder for you to receive help. So even when like that's coming in. So would that be something that you would be looking at? So those that are unable to ask for help or receive help, that feel like it's unsafe and that it's going to come with too high of a cost and that it's going to cause them more pain and they're not going to get the help that they need. All of the reasons why help is not a safe thing to reach out for. How do you speak to that person?
Well, we've had this come up before on the podcast, and it's something that we also acknowledge in our own space too, right? Where the ability to get curious about any of these things really isn't possible if you're activated. Like if your basic needs aren't met, and if you're still in some sort of fight or flight existence, the capacity to explore outside of that survival instinct, that fight or flight response, just like literally isn't possible. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there's any amount of like energy that could be expended in that space to get somebody to the point where they have the ability to, if you're actively threatened, or if you're, even if it's the same thing that we talk about all the time, where if your needs aren't met, you can't begin the process of self-work. Like you can't start going internally and looking at your shit if you're still struggling to house yourself and feed yourself. And do you know what I mean? If you're in some sort of violent environment, or if all of those things are taking place, you're not doing any self-work. You're not looking inside.
I don't know. I disagree there.
Okay. Let's hear how you disagree.
I think it is possible, and I think it happens all the time. I think it's not always probable. I think it's very difficult. Like that is asking so much, and I think that's where a lot of personal shame comes in, because when you're not activated, then you come out and you like shame yourself for how you chose to act in those activation moments. But I think where people are changing and where different decisions are being made
you is try to keep talking into the mic, babe.
I thought it is in activation moments. So that's not being like every activation moment is your opportunity to make a different choice. I'm not saying that, but it does happen. I think it happens. But it's incredibly, that's like, it's so, to say it's incredibly hard is an understatement. I think it's possible though. I think it's possible and it happens. It's just the hardest, the absolute hardest. But I think we see it all the time.
Okay, I would agree with that. Yeah, of course. It happens, right? Change happens even in states of chaos and danger and trauma, and like if your needs aren't met and all those kind of things. Change happens. Of course it does.
People still make different choices.
People do still make different choices. What's happening right now between us? Like what are you feeling coming up just in the context of between the two of us right now?
I'm sad. I'm sad that I keep moving this.
You're sad that what?
I'm just feeling a lot of sadness. You know, I feel like, I guess I'm sad that it feels so hard to even get somebody to entertain. I don't know.
I'm talking about just you and me right now.
I feel disconnected from you. I feel distant. I feel silly and sad. And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm playing all the things that I've done wrong in this conversation and how, if I would have done it better, then maybe I would have had a little bit of validity. I feel like I've just missed the opportunity to make this huge, important point, I guess, in this mark that maybe if people could just, like, I felt like I had a light bulb of love that I was trying to share, and I was like, nope. So I'm kind of feeling sad on that, but.
Do you feel like I squashed that light bulb of love or that moment?
No, I think I just came to this space with a different energy than you were ready to be in. And not like you're not, I feel like sometimes you come with a different energy than I'm ready to be in. Like right now, that's exactly what happened. I feel like you're more, I don't know, you just have a different energy than, like, our stuff isn't matching up. I'm very like I'm ready to start crying at any moment. And I'm more in a feeling standpoint. And I feel like you were in a very much an intellectual and a, like, in your head, and not like in a bad way. Just you're very like, let's break it down. I'm like, let's feel about it. And you're like, let's talk about it. Let's think about it. I'm like, let's feel about it. And so I feel like that's where we're just kind of in a different thing. And I'm like, why can't you like take a moment to feel what I'm feeling? And you're like, why can't you take a moment to think about what I'm trying to portray? So it's just like this, we're just at different parts trying to meet here. That's
super, I would agree completely. I think that's exactly what it is. And I think that it's very, I think that's the epitome of masculine and feminine relationships, right? Where you're like, why don't you feel this? And I'm all, why don't you think about this? And the solution for me is, let's think about it. And you're like, we should probably just feel it.
I feel like this is like the opposite of how we normally are. I'm like in my head and you're in your heart.
You think so?
You're like, your motto is you have to feel it to heal it.
How
and
is
I'm
that
like,
my motto?
Because you say that all the fucking time. You have to feel it to heal it. If anybody's had a conversation with you, they have heard you say that. If everybody's listened to the podcast, they have heard you say that. And I'm in my head like, let's talk about things. And you're telling me that to feel. So this is like this funny like swap. I'm all emotional and feely and on my cycle and gonna go snuggle up in bed and cry over puppy and kitty videos for a little while. And just like hard. I'm soft right now. And not weak. I am strong in my heart. My feelings are making me strong. Love is stronger than hate. Love is stronger than hate.
Love is stronger than hate. Oh my goodness, big yawn. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to analytically understand. What I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to see how I can meet you closer to where you're at, rather than sit over here and expect you to come to my side and meet me where I'm at. And this is just from like the energetic aspect of you're in your feelings and I'm in my brain, right? I'm in the thinking and you're in the feeling.
So how can we come together or not? Like,
so if I try to, because for me, what it feels like if I am going to start feeling things, the first thing that I have to do is slow down a little bit. And I don't feel slow right now.
So I should.
So if I slow down a little bit, the first thing that comes up is panic.
Okay.
I start to feel anxiety. I start to feel immediately, I'm just like, I don't want to do that. Like I can start to feel it in my body. I can start to feel like my breath starts to stop. I can feel it in my chest and in my throat. And I don't like it. I can feel it down in my belly. And by it, I just mean like weight or tension, heavy. It feels like things that I'd have to lift off of myself. It feels like weight. I can feel it on my shoulders. It's starting to get heavier as I acknowledge it and as I start to feel it. And it just makes me feel like I want to like stop. Like it feels like I'm giving up. It feels like I don't have the strength to lift it off of me. That I don't have the strength to do anything about it. And I feel that way a lot. I feel that way about a lot of things. Where I don't have the strength to do anything about it. It's too heavy of a thing to lift. It's too much. And I don't know what to do with it. So that's why I go fast and don't slow down and feel it. I'm just tired. I mean, there's an aspect of it. I'm just tired, right? Physically, mentally drained, emotionally, I'm just tired. And there's also just a lot that I have been carrying that I don't want to carry anymore. I don't want to feel it anymore. And of course, I can hear that, well, you got to feel it, something. Seems like there's something else that goes with that line. You know, the programming that I have is like, I don't care. I don't need to intellectualize any of it. That's what I'm feeling. I'll let you intellectualize now for a minute. So if we're going to meet in the middle, then you got to get in your head a little bit. And
as soon as you said, you don't want to slow down, you slow down, you feel panic. I'm over here like, as you're saying, well, I got to slow down. I'm like, I got to speed up. And it's not to jump to your side or you jump to my side. Like, I want to meet you in the middle. And as I start to speed up, that's exactly what I was feeling, is panic. Like starting to go fast. It's like that panic, that urgency. And I didn't want to feel the panic. And so I'm like, how interesting is that we were both like we're doing that, like that same place again, but on opposite ends, right?
Just the
we're just like
mirrors.
trying to avoid that panic, that uncomfortable, that fear. It's like that panic is like defeat and helplessness, and like that's not fun to sit in. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ugh. Okay. I'm really trying to keep myself like amping up, speed up, go a little bit faster, because I could feel you drop down, and I was already going slow. And so feeling you drop down is like helping the energy even. I'm like, come on, I'm meeting you in the middle. Let's pump it up. I'm trying to like meet you and get back and like, okay, so how are we going to do this intellectually? Man, it's just nice to take a breath almost, and like what could come in that calm energy, but that calm energy feels like defeat. So if we look in that, and it comes back to the inner work, right?
What calm energy? I don't feel any calm energy.
When things get calm, that feels like panic. So when things aren't sharp, when things aren't going super fast, just sinking into a calmness feels like panic. It feels like stagnation. It feels like a sitting duck, sitting there waiting to be like, you're no longer protecting yourself. So calmness doesn't feel safe. It feels like a trap. I can relate to how that feels. So that's the calm energy that I'm talking about, is when things start to slow and get calm. Okay. It doesn't mean peaceful. It's now scary.
Yeah.
So, and then things moving really fast, it feels like you can't see what's happening. It's like boom, 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 boom. Things are going too fast, going around. There's too many different things. You don't have time to assess here and assess here, because there's so many different things happening at once. Now, if you're at a slower pace, the calmness, you can see more, you can clear, it slows down. And if you're going at a faster pace, this is actually calming, because you're like, I can see everything. I know what I need to do here. And it brings it. So it kind of depends on where you're at. There's high roads and low roads of it. So how just like working with those energies, working with those different, not shifting to the other person, but being, I don't know, like, what is that poem? It's like not even meeting in the middle. It's like, I'm going to meet you in a field, like somewhere else. I'm going to meet you in a field where we're not trying to like fight for power in this. I'm going to be over here where this doesn't take place. It's so hard when it feels like that will never work. That is impossible. That will never work. And I don't believe that. I think it's possible, and I think it will work. What I think the problem is people aren't willing to try. It's like, don't say it won't work. You haven't done it. Don't say it won't work when you haven't, like, people haven't met there. And they have. That's not saying that they haven't. They meet there all the time. But in like these high conflict, in this high power, in this high, and yeah, there's people that are not willing to meet you there. I don't know, but more people are. I don't have the answers. I have a feeling. I can't sit here and solve it. It doesn't matter how much I get in my head. I can try. And it feels like it's almost like, oh, if I don't have the answer how to fix it now, then everything I said is pointless. It's like, it's either you fix it, either you have to be perfect, either you have 100% all of it, or I'm not even going to entertain you. It's like, well, let's problem solve together. I don't have to have the answer right now, but let's get curious and try and come up with the answer. I don't have the answer. I don't have a clue.
Do you think our relationship, and relationship is kind of too broad of a term, but do you think you and I have an energy that exists in the space of our life together?
Like what our vibration feels like?
Almost like, do you think our relationship has an aura? Our relationship has an energy. Our relationship has our vibration. Right?
I do.
So you've got yours, I've got mine, and then our relationship has one.
Yeah, very much.
Do you think that energy that our relationship has is because I'm sitting here completely at a loss for what the fuck we're talking about. I have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. But I'm sitting here realizing how much you are in feminine energy right now and how much it feels like I am not. And I was thinking about, like, maybe the energy of our relationship has a natural rhythm and flow that is balanced at all times. Or I shouldn't say is balanced, but that requires balance. And in order for it to be balanced, we have to embody we have to continue. It's a teeter totter of masculine and feminine. And if you're going to go super feminine, then I have to go super masculine. And then vice versa. If I'm going super feminine, then you have to go super masculine. And that's just like this energy that exists in the space of our relationship. And this is a massive oversimplification, right? But
let's get curious about it.
It feels like, because this isn't a judgment or criticism, right? You've been very emotional. You've been very much in the thick of feeling things, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, right? You're crying at a wind that blows by, a leaf that tumbles across the road. You're like, the leaf just left its tree and it's going to end up in the gutter. I don't know what's going on with leaves. All the leaves. I mean,
I feel like I'm crying more about love things that are like showing signs of love as opposed to like despair.
It's definitely making fun of you.
I know.
Very emotional. And
tried to get a kitty. Could have solved this problem. Could have had a place to channel all this.
What if that's just the balancing that takes place subconsciously in the space of our relationship? Or if you're very emotional and you're very much in the feeling of things, then the counter to that, in order to keep equilibrium and balance, is for me to be very much in the masculine. And what if there's nothing wrong with that? What if that isn't something that like we have to balance or something? What if it's just the awareness of that dynamic at play, the awareness of that energy that exists, and the awareness of that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And that it will shift, because you'll be different next week.
I might be different 5 minutes from now.
Right. It's like,
next thing you're going to be like, bring me the no bakes, and I'm going to be all action oriented.
But I get into the feeling of things.
Yeah.
And I get very emotional. Then do you find yourself, I'm very curious now to see if this is actually what's happening.
Do I find myself in the masculine a lot when you're in the feminine?
Yes.
Very much so.
Do you have awareness of that? Or do you just have awareness now because we're talking about it?
I definitely have awareness at times, but not always. I'm not really in when, like, I can see the shift, but not always. Because like when I'm also very in the masculine, I'm not like, oh, let's analyze this and see. I'm more like action, let's go.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time of letting that masculine energy go, that action energy go. Because not only do I feel productive, I feel safe. Because then I don't feel like, I feel like I can keep going. I can make things happen. I can I create this momentum and things are going to work out. Like, I've got this. I'm in control and I have it, and everything is going to be okay now. And I have me, as opposed to when I'm, I guess, like down and out and lost in my feelings. But I don't feel down and out and lost in my feelings. I feel like I'm shedding shit, and I feel good. I feel like I'm crying over love. I'm crying over things that feel good. I'm not crying out of despair. I'm crying out of like, I'm just feeling so much.
You're just allowing it to be felt.
I'm allowing it to be felt. And maybe it's so intense because I haven't given myself a lot of space for that. And it's not like a conscious allowance. It's like I didn't know how, but I'm doing so much that I'm seeing all of these different ways to go about it. I think we very much bounce back and forth. And I think that there's times when we have a really good balance together, and then we have a really good flow together. When we are in strong opposites, we don't have a good flow. That's just the way it is. When you're like super in your feminine and I'm super in my masculine, things like we're exactly where we need to be, but we're not working well together. And when I'm super in my feminine and you're super in your masculine, like things are as they need to be. But again, we're not working well together. When we have that like healthy balance between the two, we work really well together.
Yeah.
We have this like.
Think about how hard it. So do you remember Teeter Totters when you were a kid?
No.
Are you being facetious?
Yes.
Okay, jackass. Do you remember like I remember playing on a teeter totter when I was a kid, and there were times where you could really bounce it so that you were like, you would stay in the middle.
Yeah, that was so fun.
Think about how much work that took from each side, right? Where it was like,
and where are you gonna sit?
You had to really communicate. You really had to be connected to the other person and really dialed into the other person in order to do that.
Yeah. And another aspect of it is like, depending on like, if we're talking about emotions, right? And energies, depending on the size of the person that are going back and forth, it also depended on where the other person had to sit to find that balance. So if we like put that instead of body, we put that into like emotions, where the emotions are at the other person, it determines where the other one has to sit. So balance doesn't mean equal. Balance doesn't like mean this. Sometimes this person has to come a little bit more this way to achieve the balance. Sometimes this person more this way. Sometimes you have to sit really, really far out on the other ends of the spectrum to create the balance. And sometimes you really have to come in together and to where you're both sitting closer to create balance. Balance isn't equal, but it can be.
Balance isn't equal. I'm liking this teeter-totter metaphor.
You usually have really good metaphors.
I don't know if this is a really good one.
It's making sense to me.
But that idea that balance isn't equal.
But it can be. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes like you said, right? Sometimes the person has to slide a little bit more towards the center. Also, too, like if you're on a teeter-totter and you both are sitting at the center, then it's not fun anymore. Then it's not like, then you're just sitting there. You're just sitting there. Nothing's happening.
If you're both at the very end, then it's like activating everything and where you're going to lean.
And think about like those times when you would fuck with that other person that would be up top, right?
Yeah.
Where you wouldn't let that person down.
That's less balance.
Or you would like, sometimes you would push off so hard that they would slam back down.
Yeah. Ow.
Do you remember doing that? Where you would like jump up from the bottom, so then that person up top drops back down hard, because there's like a nice easy way to
we did like little like cherry bumps, which now I understand like how terrible those are called.
Cherry bumps, bumping the testicles of the poor person on the.
I guess I didn't really teeter totter with a lot of guys.
Okay, I could
you could see that because I wasn't like
popping your cherry.
Like, yeah, that's terrible. But I had no idea they were like, that didn't make sense. They were just called cherry bumps.
Yeah.
Because you would, get slammed, but it wasn't on the ground. That would hurt. Like but would you do little bumps? Because then it would make the other person do like little, like little bumps.
Yeah.
And it was okay. But it wasn't like, I feel like we have very different teeter totter experiences. We're not trying to hurt the other person.
A difference between masculine and feminine teeter-tottering.
Yeah. Okay, so like sometimes we would hold hands with the other person and teeter-totter up and down and synchronistic. Did you ever do that? Did you ever hold hands? I mean, I don't know. It's like, this might just be a girl thing, but maybe not. Like, okay, maybe actually, no. Like, so sometimes what we would do is hold hands with a person. You should have pair of teeter-totters, right?
Yeah. Two teeter-totters next to each other.
You were holding hands with this person and this one was holding hands. So you were going up and down in synchronistic rhythm. And so that would work. And what would happen if like the other person got distracted, which happened to me? The person falls off. They thought I dislocated my shoulder because the other person, I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
And came off. But like there was even that like unity, that synchronism going up and down. Did you ever see that?
I don't remember doing side by side teeter totters like that. I remember.
What about on the swings?
Yeah, on the swings.
So that's even kind of.
I'm sitting there thinking, did you ever get off the teeter-totter so that the other person would fall?
No, I don't think so. Like, I know there would be like the thing where like you would have to catch them and it would be a play, but like make the other person fall.
Like you're at the bottom end of the teeter-totter, so the other person is up high, and then to fuck with them, you get off.
So they just fall from the top?
They just fall from the top.
No, I don't have memory of that. I can't say that I didn't, but that doesn't.
See, this is the difference between men and women.
I know there was a thing where you would like do the thing where you would like fall, like stay on it, but you would allow like your legs to like pop up, or so you would come down harder, so they would do the bump at the top.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about completely get off of it.
So they would just crash.
So they would just fall straight to the ground.
No, that's mean, and I would not teeter-totter with the person that would like that would hurt.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Maybe like maybe there might be somebody that listens to this from my childhood that's like, turns out, yeah, you fucking did. And I'm like, I don't know, that never happened.
So our relationship has a teeter-totter of energy, masculine and feminine.
Are you jumping off so I fall?
I don't think I'm jumping off so that you fall. No, I don't think I'm doing that. But I'm thinking about the subconscious thing that gets played out in order to keep balance.
That doesn't sound like that's a keeping a balance one.
I'm not jumping off so that you fall. If we get on the teeter-totter
I'm gonna
together,
start. I'm like,
I'm
not gonna teeter-totter with you.
I'm definitely gonna cherry bump you when, I'm gonna
cherry bump you a little bit too.
Make each other laugh and giggle and have some fun. But I'm not gonna get off the teeter-totter so that you fall. Just because that happened when I was a kid, and because boys do that.
I don't know. I'm looking at you like, my feelings are hurt.
You're cute.
I'm definitely not going to let you fall.
I'm not going to let you fall either.
Okay.
This is a weird episode of the podcast.
Well, when are they not? Like,
I don't know. They do not weird
so
episodes.
our relationship does have a vibration, and it does have an aura. And I think just like everything, your vibration and aura fluctuates with where you are in time.
Yeah, I'm just curious if we can bring some awareness to it.
Let's try. That can be our...
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Where it's like, oh, it seems like you're really in your feminine. And like you mentioned earlier, where when you're in your masculine, you don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
I'm fucking ready to let this shit go. I don't want to carry this anymore. I'm so fucking done with all of this shit. I want to fucking relax and take baths and cry and shit. I want to watch sad fucking movies. I don't want to carry around all of this shit.
That's so like, but normally you hold on to your masculine. And normally I hold on to the masculine, but I don't want to let this feminine go.
Well, let some of it go so that I can fucking relax. You're sitting there.
Maybe we need to get on different teeter-totters then. Hear me out, okay? Like, I have not allowed this. I said the other day, I had this like massive cry, and it felt good after. I felt relief after.
Okay.
I've heard people talk about that. I never experienced that. I never felt better after a cry. I always felt worse. I tried not to cry. Whenever I would give in to the cry, I never felt relief. I was exhausted, felt more. I cried so hard. And I've cried so hard before, but I cried differently. I was in a different energy where I cried and I actually felt better. I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
I'm still having that. I'm not letting it go yet.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you have to sit in the masculine.
Well, if we have a teeter-totter of masculine and feminine energy.
What did we talk about? Balance doesn't mean equal. It doesn't mean that you have to be on this end of the spectrum. Maybe you need to come in more of your feminine to find the balance. Maybe we're like skewomp. Maybe we are on a different teeter-totters right now. Because I'm all feminine.
Okay, you have to stop talking about being on different teeter-totters, because that's making me feel like complete dog shit right now. So I don't want to ever be on a different teeter-totter than you.
Okay.
And I don't want you to go get on a different teeter-totter.
Okay. You don't want to be in this much masculine. So come in. I have feeling how good it feels to feel, even when it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling has always been painful and weak and incapable. Like, I've been stuck. and I'm feeling, and it feels good, and I'm feeling so much love, and it feels good, and sometimes it really hurts, and sometimes I'm getting really mad, and I'm letting it happen, and I'm asking for help. I'm not stopping right now. Maybe I am balanced. Maybe I'm not really in my feminine. Maybe I'm allowing it all, but I'm not ready to come off of this spot that I've just found.
Yeah.
If you're ready to come off, babe, come off.
Yeah, I don't
come
want you
closer. You don't have to be clear over there. You don't have to do it that way. I'm right here. I've got all the fluffy pillows. It is a soft landing. You're not going to fall.
Yeah.
You're not going to like slam down. I'm not going to let you slam down.
Yeah.
We're not going to be stuck over here in cookie dough batter. Like, however, like we make magic. I got you.
Thank you. I was talking about it from this bigger perspective of, because I think things are just subconsciously naturally balanced, whether or not we try or try not, right? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
That it's going to be balanced. And I think that subconsciously, when you're really in your feminine, then I have to be really in the masculine. And it's not have to be. I think it just is, because it balances itself out. So yeah, I can consciously move towards the center and come back into the feminine. But at the same time, if I did that, it would shift up where you're at.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
And you just said you don't want to get off of where you're at right now.
And you heard it's your responsibility to hold where you are so I can stay where I am.
Yeah.
What if it's my responsibility to hold where I am?
So then I stay where I'm at?
So that I can stay where I am. And it's your responsibility to hold where you want to be so you can be where you want to be. And see how I don't have to hold you and you don't have to hold me.
You know what's so funny?
What?
Earlier you said like when we're really in the opposite ends of this energy, we don't communicate very well. We don't see.
Ooh. Look at it. You got.
Like that's what you said, right? Where it's like we're just not firing together.
Yeah.
And I feel like we almost had this teeter totter metaphor dialed in together, and then it went off into these different directions where you're trying to articulate something to help me feel better, and I'm trying to articulate something to help you feel better, and who fucking knows what we're doing. Did you ever feel like that?
All
where
the
you
time.
just don't know what the fuck you're doing?
Maybe
I get so tired of trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing. It's like, what are you doing? I don't know. Maybe that's just what I need to embrace. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm tired of trying to figure it out. I'm gonna drink some water today. That's all I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, babe. Fucking tired. Any closing thoughts?
No.
Don't get out of your feminine. Stay where you're at. Do you.
get out of your masculine if you want to.
Yeah. I'm scared too.
I understand.
We'll see you guys next week or next episode. I got to stop saying we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Because we will see them next week, but that makes it sound like we'll see you whenever we fucking see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's that?
See you when you see me.